All right, guys, today we are going to go over a couple supplements that I'm a big fan of. I've used for quite a while. I have my reasons for it. Looking for like answers in some of this like needle in a stack of needles. That tends to be kind of confusing for people. Like when, what, how, like is there redundancy? And there is. Sometimes there is redundancy with supplements. What I mean is like there are some supplements you might just take once a day to take it every day, once a day, and that's your benefit. Some supplements or some nootropics, when you titrate them, let's say, for example, like these, I'm going to take these with my breakfast, right? And then when I come here, I take my pre-workout, which has a few other sort of redundancy nootropics in it. And so these two right here, I've got Resveracel and I got Memoractive. So again, it's one of these things where we're saying there's options, there's lots of options, and why are we taking this? I'm taking this for metabolic sort of health. I'm taking this for focus for sure. I'm not taking it to be overstimulated, but there is some caffeine in these, but it's when you pair them up with some of the antioxidants and some of the nootropics, they work exceptionally well as long as you've gotten the proper hydration, you're not skipping meals, you've slept fairly decently, right? Your body doesn't need this massive abundance of stimulation to feel. What we end up doing is like we've got good sleep, good rest, good diet. Sometimes in the morning, like especially now we're dealing with daylight savings shift, and it's like, man, like we're back to going to work when it's dark out in the morning, and it's like that seeing the light, literal, waking up, exposing yourself to direct sunlight to your face for a couple minutes in your eyes every morning is incredibly, incredibly, incredibly valuable for your hormones. It sets the timing. The rising of the sun, and you exposing yourself to that sets your circadian rhythm in your body. So that's why shift work is so difficult for people to get to feel energized and have energy for workouts, is because a lot of times when we're on vampires, you don't see the sun. And so what are we trying to do? Like, okay, there's some biological necessity for health and wellness to get into the sun. And it's like sometimes it takes a little bit extra supercharge to get going because so many of us are in our office getting flooded with blue light before the sun even comes up. And so instead of me just flooding myself with a stimulation like caffeine, even though I wake up, I have my meals, I'm fully hydrated, but you know what? Like after training year after year after year, sometimes my body is stubborn and it doesn't want to get moving. And so instead of, again, me flooding through a bunch of caffeine, which it might spike my feeling, but it's just going to really come down hard after that, even like my hunger. So these two exercises, these two supplements, Resveracel, right? If you look on the back of these, we're not going to read through them all, but like what we're really looking at is the first couple, right? The first couple ingredients on this is like niacinamide ribose, okay? That is a precursor for NAD. If you don't know what NAD is, it's a powerhouse for energy, your mitochondria, all those things. That's like, we're talking about ATP, mitochondria, energy, metabolic this, like you're really talking about the cellular, right? And we're talking what supplement or what nutrient can I give to my body that is going to tell my body to say, hey, this is a natural occurring substance. And this natural occurring substance, NAD, right, or the precursor to it, saying, hey, let's produce this naturally rather than dumping some sort of synthetic hormone into you that's supposed to mimic that. Ideally, we want a good input, and that's where a peptide potentially comes from, or a nutraceutical, where it's not replacing what you need, it's stimulating your body to naturally produce it, right? Natural. Now that's the idea. And what we get from that is a very good sense of heightened awareness, not just a rush of caffeine, right? The next one, we're looking at quercetin, right, on this Resveracel. Quercetin is an extremely strong antioxidant, right? And free radical killer. Like that's what we want. We want to push all the bullshit. Like when we work out real vigorously, there's a byproduct of our workout. Just like when you put your key in your car, you turn it on, the gas goes to the combustion engine, and out the exhaust comes carbon monoxide. There's a byproduct of combusting fossil fuels. The human body also has a byproduct of metabolizing nutrients. And what we don't want to do, a lot of times when we eat processed foods and things like that, the body has to produce enzymes and chemicals to offset that poison, we'll say. Well, we want to be able to get a lot of that shunted out and keep that sort of, so that's the idea, is we want the body to have a really good immune system in fighting off those free radicals when we're working out so vigorously and there's a lot of cellular stress. That's what we're dealing with, because like, if you're eating like crap and you're training, your diet's crap, you're wasting your money with this. You're absolutely wasting your money. Like when your diet is dialed in, your training is dialed in, and you are trying to be as optimal as possible, we're talking cellular, okay? Resveracel. So I take this in the morning. I take this with my breakfast, right? So it's my first initiation of titration of, I take lion's mane mushrooms in the morning as well with my food. And then I add Resveracel and I add Memoactive. So that's the second one I'm holding, Memoactive, same idea. Yes, there's caffeine in this, but its main focus is not overstimulation. It's a nutraceutical, like looking at focus, right? Looking at awareness, working at total cellular engagement, not just stimulation, okay, of the adrenal glands, okay? And so looking at this is like we got acetylcarnitine, right? Really, really, really good, right? We're talking about, you hear carnitine being a fat burner, but what we're really talking about is bringing oxygen to the cell, right? We're stunting the hydrogen in the same way we kind of do with beta-alanine. We really want to keep hydrogen out of the cells, and that's what we're talking about in here too, because we got the next one we have is, is ginkgo. Okay, again, the same idea. We're talking about cellular health, bringing the ginkgo is to bring good nutrients into the cell. It's to stimulate that process, right? And we're really, really getting rid of all those byproducts that we have from when we eat and we train. Man, what we end is like we just don't clog the system up, right? Each morning we're less and less, like our engine's less gummed up. When our engine is less and less gummed up periodically, man, like we run so much better. Our idle is so much better, right? Our human idle essentially is so much better, okay? And we can keep going through these things, but what you would notice on both of these is the goal is to not overstimulate the nervous system and adrenal gland, because we know that you're gonna train really, really hard. And for those of you that are using something like this on shift work, right, that's the idea. We know that when you have proper hydration, you have even a decent sleep schedule, and we add some of these even in that shift work, during your shift work, during like if you're on the shift from like 8 a.m. or 8 p.m. to like whatever 5 a.m., whatever that might be, and it's like a lot of people don't want to be slamming too much caffeine, maybe a couple, some tea here, some coffee here at the beginning of the shift or at the end, but it's like, fuck, what can I take during my shift that I can is still going to allow me to sleep at the end of my shift, as long as I'm taking this like not, 2 hours before I try to sleep. So that's also why we're bringing this up, because what I also say in swing shift, we're trying to avoid the energy drinks as the way of hydration. So if like we have a bunch of water, maybe you do have a Monster Red Bull to sip on with that water, and then we add this in the future. But again, is what we don't want to do is take an energy drink where that hydration source is really full of stimulants, and then you add these on top of it, not a good idea. So that's where we're saying using these, and the hydration source while you're using is just water, right? Water with lemon, something reasonable while you're on shift. So take a look at these two products. Right? If you have questions about them, definitely there's a lot of information on the website. But again, we want really, really, really clean burning fuel, right? Something that doesn't gum up the system, and something that allows us on a daily basis to really achieve much higher sense of focus, right? And not overstimulation. So check out Resveracel. Big fan of this for lots of reasons, okay? And Memoactive too. I'm not a huge caffeine person, but the complement of caffeine with the nutraceuticals on these two, this one right here is just awesome. So check them out, guys. I think you'll be happy.